All right, let's dive right into this explainer and explore how the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness, or NIL, have completely rewritten the rules of college football. Seriously, the sport as we knew it is practically unrecognizable today.
You know, for decades, the recipe for building a championship roster was actually highly predictable. You lock down your home state, you build a strong regional culture, and you sell these recruits on tradition. But before the millions of dollars started flying around, what actually made a high schooler choose a specific college? Was it the dorms, the regional pride, or the cash? Well, for a normal student, picking a college involves weighing the weather, maybe academics, but for elite football recruits, that calculus has literally always been heavily weighted toward the athletic program itself. For the last 25 years, there's been this fascinating geographic divide defining the sport. Researchers at Berkeley actually mapped out recruiting success against FISC guide ratings. Now, if you aren't familiar, FISC is basically the gold standard for ranking college social life and academics. And when they ran the numbers, a wild trend emerged, specifically when looking at programs that either drastically underperformed or overperformed their lifestyle scores.
What they found was that schools in the West and Midwest might have gorgeous campuses and top-tier academics, but they would routinely lose out on five-star football recruits. Meanwhile, powerhouses in the South and Southeast were significantly overperforming their lifestyle scores. Why? Well, because historically, the sheer cultural gravity of Southern football was the ultimate trump card. It was this massive magnetic draw that easily outweighed general quality of life metrics.
But we have to compare that old normal to today because it's a completely different ballgame. Think back to 2010. Georgia relied almost entirely on its own backyard, signing 13 in-state players and literally 0 from outside their region. Ohio State did the exact same thing, locking down 10 local kids. Fast forward to 2023, and that local loyalty? It's completely gone. Georgia is pulling 5 players from out of region, and Ohio State is grabbing 12. The intense win-now pressure from boosters means coaches can't just rely on regional proximity anymore. They have to cross the country to find the most polished, ready-to-play talent available.
So, how did we get here? Well, this timeline is basically the exact map of how power transferred from the universities directly into the hands of the players. In 2010, relying on local pipelines was just the standard. But then in 2018, the NCAA cracked the door open by launching the transfer portal. 3 years later, in 2021, the floodgates completely opened. NIL legislation kicked the door right off its hinges, finally allowing athletes to make money off their own name and image. And now, in 2024, with a 12-team playoff and direct revenue sharing being explored, the landscape is just completely unrecognizable.
When players jump into this portal today, they're hunting for very specific upgrades. They're looking to escape a bad scheme, demanding more playing time, or, let's be honest, securing a massive financial package. Gone are the days when a transfer had to sit out an entire season, trapped at a school that just wasn't a fit. Now, they're optimizing their immediate career potential. It is, for all intents and purposes, true athletic free agency.
To really understand the financial shockwave we're seeing, we absolutely have to talk about NIL collectives. Legally, a university cannot directly pay a high schooler to commit to their team, so a backdoor method was created. Third-party collectives basically gather millions of dollars from wealthy alumni. They then informally promise these massive financial deals to athletes, usually under the guise of a charity event or a sponsorship, provided the athlete signs with their specific school. It is a highly competitive, totally unregulated Wild West marketplace.
Take Texas quarterback Arch Manning, for example. He boasts a staggering NIL valuation of $6.5 million. I mean, just process that for a second. A 19-year-old taking freshman seminars while sitting on a $6.5 million valuation? I don't know about you, but my campus job in the dining hall definitely did not pay quite that well. The sheer scale of wealth available to the absolute top-tier recruits is fundamentally altering the sport.
Now contrast that valuation with the 2024 minimum salary for a rookie in the NFL, which sits at roughly $795,000. It's an incredible reality check. Why risk your body as a low-round draft pick in the NFL? Where, by the way, the average career only lasts about 3 years, when you can stay in college, play against college kids, and earn guaranteed massive income for yourself and your family right now.
You know, fans often complain about a lack of loyalty, but listen to national champion and NFL superstar Joe Burrow's brutally honest take on this. He said, "If you're in high school and you're getting offered that, go wherever they are paying you the most." And honestly, he hits the nail on the head. When 7 figures are on the table, treating your athletic career like a business isn't greedy. It's just logical.
However, it's not all upside. The unregulated nature of this money brings some really serious risks. Because the NIL space completely lacks the strict collective bargaining regulations you see in professional sports, some agents are actually taking up to 20% of an athlete's collective offer in the portal. 20%! That's compared to just a 3% cap in the NFL. We have to remember these are still teenagers navigating shark-infested waters without a union to protect them, and they're losing massive chunks of their leverage to middlemen.
And while those multi-million-dollar deals are the ones stealing all the headlines, the everyday reality is far different. For the average player earning between $1,000 and $10,000, well, it isn't buying a sports car. It's paying rent, buying groceries, and bridging the gap that out-of-state tuition leaves behind. For the vast majority of athletes, NIL just vastly improves the basic affordability of the college experience.
But here is the major takeaway for the sport as a whole. Because top-tier NIL packages are so expensive, the traditional powerhouses in the South and Southeast can no longer afford to hoard all the talent. That regional advantage we talked about earlier, it's being completely diluted by the sheer cost of doing business. Elite talent is dispersing nationwide because, simply put, not every school can outbid the field for every single five-star prospect on the board.
The talent pool is literally flattening out before our eyes. If you look at the trend over the last 3 years, the average player rating gap between the #1 recruiting class and the #20 recruiting class is shrinking rapidly. In fact, right now, it's the smallest gap in history. Elite high school players are realizing they can go to a slightly lower-ranked program, secure a life-changing financial package, and, thanks to the new 12-team playoff, still have a completely valid path to a national championship. To put that parity into perspective, the top 20 composite players, meaning the consensus best recruits across all the major scouting networks, in a recent recruiting class went to 16 entirely different schools. 16! There is no way that happens a decade ago. We are seeing top offensive linemen committing to Maryland or Colorado, and top wide receivers heading to Auburn or Texas Tech. The old oligopoly of the top 4 or 5 teams hoarding all the elite talent is absolutely being fractured by the free market. So this era has created a massive, unavoidable collision. On one side, you have the fans who value deep tradition, loyalty, and fighting for the jersey. They want players who embrace that leaders invest mentality and stay for 4 years. But facing them is the reality of the modern athlete who has to leverage their finite prime years for immediate playing time and generational wealth. That friction between a fan's emotional connection to the laundry and a player's strategic business decisions is without a doubt the defining story of college sports today. As we wrap up this explainer, we are left looking at a completely transformed landscape. With geography mattering less and talent chasing the highest bidder, we really have to ask ourselves, when the dust settles and the emotional brand identity of these historic programs is stripped away, are we still watching college football or just a minor league with better marching bands?